are with Raza Rumi Saab. He's is a journalist, activist, and now a professor at Cornell University. Has written many books. And today you have given a presentation on the future of Pakistan, or what it looks like based on data. But one thing you didn't, mention, or it's a big thing, is role of religion in Pakistan. And it's not just a Pakistani issue, but it's like all Muslims face it. Like, what should be Islam, and in this modern world, how should we deal with that? And some of the questions raised about, Khatm Nabuwat, or women in Pakistan, or minority rights and stuff like that. I think somehow is linked to our understanding of Islam. So how would you say that what's happening now? Do you see anything positive in how Pakistanis are coming to terms with religion, and the role it plays in the public space?
So I think this debate on the role of religion in Pakistan, is highly twisted and exaggerated. Because to be honest, Pakistan was created not as a theocracy. Mr. Jinnah was hardly a practicing Muslim. He's a modern Muslim. Iqbal was a modern thinker. Liaquat Ali Khan, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan, they all were these modern Muslims. And, they were this fringe of Maulanas. Many of them actually did not want Pakistan to
That's right.
become a real country, because they thought that Pakistan was being led by these modernists
Right.
and these infidels.
Yeah.
So this whole idea, but unfortunately when Pakistan came into being, religion was used as a political tool by the elites, by the military, by the politicians, by the bureaucracy, to control people. And you could do anything in the name of religion. You could have a dictatorship like Zia's, and you say we are an Islamic country, so in the name of Islam, we'll bring in these laws. And this Khatm Nabuwat business, it's purely political. So, in Pakistan, actually, to be honest, I feel that a majority of Pakistani Muslims, and majority is Muslim, as 95% or so, it is hardly an issue. It is an issue when the government or the military makes it into an issue to achieve a political end. And in that process, they polarize the country. So even Pakistan's blasphemy laws and these whole issues with minorities have emerged from that state project. It's not an organic demand of people. Because if people really wanted religion in Pakistan, they would have actually gone and voted for a theocratic state. They would have said, okay, we want a Sharia compliant country. We don't want, Pakistan with political and economic rights for Muslims of India. So I guess that tension is still very much there, and that's why I didn't really talk about it, because it's the most talked about thing in global media, in India, even in Pakistan. We liberal commentators, we keep on talking about how the mullahs are hijacking stuff, but the reality is that mullahs are given oxygen by the state. The whole state architecture has been made for their power, and I feel that if you start taking that support line away, and if you integrate some of these madrasas and Maulvis into the mainstream, you can overcome more than half the problem.
So in India, we're seeing something kind of parallel, where religion is being used by at least one major political party to drive their
Totally.
political agenda. So are there lessons that we Indians can take from Pakistan, and how to deal with these issues?
Absolutely. I think there are two lessons. So Ziaul Haq, of course, was the most ardent proponent of
Right.
Islamization. It had started before. Bhutto brought in the first few Islamization laws and policies. And what Ziaul Haq's 10 years in power, and remember, India is a democratic country, so Mr. Modi and BJP can't have a full fascist control over India as a military rule allows the dictator to have. So in India, there's a pushback. People are resisting that, challenging that, writing against it. It was not the case in Pakistan. And after Zia's death in 1988, a weaker, divided, wounded Pakistan was there, with all these fissures, and with particularly how mindsets were influenced. The young generation, the generation I grew up.
Right.
I'm a Zia's child, as you can say, because I was in school in those days, and later on. So the lesson that India must learn from us is that we are, India is far more pluralistic and complicated country than Pakistan. with all these Hindutva drives, this change in curricula, this narrative Taj Mahal is Islamic or un-Islamic or whatever, this is going to divide India and splinter India, India's soul and India's body politic. And what they must remember is that they must not follow our path. As Fahmida Riaz's point says कि तुम बिल्कुल हम जैसे निकले और तुम्हारे यहाँ भी मजहब का भूत नाच रहा है. So, you have to avoid that path because it has taken us, the reversal in Pakistan on this whole extremist thinking, extremist narratives in the state is a recent, only in 2012, 2013, 2014, the military realized enough is enough. We can't let this country go down in these flames of sectarian warfare and bigotry. And they started pulling back. That's why I said in my presentation, Nawaz Sharif is a conservative politician and he brought in all these liberal reforms, all these moderate reforms for minorities, Hindus, Christians, etc. And so India must not do the same, that, it will take another 10, 20 years for it to realize how terrible things are going to become. So it should take a step back and realize that, why Mr. Modi was voted in power was not just for the ascendancy of Hindutva, but for jobs, for economic progress, for middle class goals and dreams.
Let's hope that's true. So how would you compare Indian media and Pakistani media? I mean, Pakistani media is now free and has some role in I don't know if it's moderating, but at least in the democratic rights or democratization of Pakistan. So. And Indian media, you see now, is really gone off the
cliff. I think the parallels are very much there. Indian media, the vernacular media is far noisy and jingoistic.
Even English, so-called mainstream media now,
English is following that, but we are also following and reading about a familiar story because there was an article in Washington Post, New York Times has reported on it, International Rights Group have talked about it, that there is muzzling of media voices in India.
Right.
We have that nice woman Gauri was shot dead.
Yeah, Gauri Lankesh.
Yes, Gauri Lankesh, and before that, free thinkers were also gunned down. And and there are these Siddharth Varadarajan, who has now set up a great independent media outlet. And many other editors have been asked to leave. I mean, I think the most recent one is the Times of India. This young liberal woman, I actually know her online, and she was just asked to go one fine day just for a tweet. And so I guess the parallels are very much there, and it's really, really a shame that media has to be independent of state power, of state policy. It has to show the mirror to both the society and the state. And unfortunately, sections of Indian media are just looking like our television or print personalities who toe the army's line or political government's line and distort the narrative. So, India has some great traditions of independent and fiery journalism. And they are still there, Siddharth being one, for example, and other outlets. So there are many others. I mean, I would hesitate to say that's not the general trend, but media is definitely playing a very, very negative role. And also, I've been lamenting, with other peace activists, that even in India-Pakistan relations, our two media become very partisan. They start echoing. So Pakistani media takes the jingoism line of the Pakistan military, and the Indian media takes the cue from your foreign office or South Bloc, whatever you call it, MEA's briefs, and they're like, and often it is like, let's crush Pakistan, let's bomb Pakistan. I mean, Pakistan is not like a neighborhood that you can just go and take a tag. It's 200 million real people, flesh and blood. And what sort of brutal land, and unfortunately, in the Hindutva times, the problem is that things are also said about Kashmiris like that. I remember after the Burhan Wani, they said, why can't we bomb Kashmiris? That's right. Let's carpet bomb. What will happen then? So I guess this rise of hyper nationalism in India, to some degree Pakistan, in America, is taking away rationality, is taking away reason. And the fundamental, the foundation of a good society, of progress, of future portents is reason, is being rational, is being moderate, is being calm, is being constructive. And once you start drumming up these short-term negative emotions for political gains, you actually are doing a huge disservice to a country and the society, and I would say the world now with what Mr. Trump is doing here.
Right, right. I said I'm going to take 10 minutes, so it's 10 minutes. Thank you, Raza Rungi sir.